Good evening and welcome to a Wednesday night edition of the Buddy Martin Show. Playing hurt tonight. Got the stuff in the throat, got the lemonade and the lozenges, and we're going to make it through. So just letting you know if you hear some hacking on, that's me. Yeah. Well, it seems to be going around these days. I'm sure you got it. But I'm okay. Just a little raspy here. And we got a good show tonight. Really good show for you because we got a lot of good people and some good news. You know, you love to share good news, don't you? You really do when good things happen. And today, a friend of mine got nominated and actually got selected for the Hall of Fame. Urban Meyer. That means two Florida coaches now are in. We'll have a special program with them tomorrow night. And congratulations to Urban and Steve. They'll be appearing at Weeby with Freddie Weeby on Spurrier's Friday, especially. I'll tell you more about that. Freddie will be joining us to talk about it. So we will doing that too. So, and it's Wednesday night. That means another Hall of Famer, Allie P. Wilbur, will be joining us later on to talk about all the good stuff. And the main Hall of Famer, the guy who's Mr. College Football, Tony Barnhart, my good buddy, standing by. Will get his take on a lot of things like quarterbacks. They come and they go, and about what's next for college football. So stand by. It's going to be a dandy right here on the Buddy Martin Show. Tell your friends and neighbors we're ready to go. All right, we're ready to go. And we're going to rock and roll here in just 1 minute. And Tony's standing by.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Evening, folks. Welcome to the show where we play here tonight because we have such an outstanding lineup of guests. Standing by in the orange and blue room is my good buddy, Tony Barnhart, Hall of Famer in his own right. We talk about Florida's newest Hall of Famer, Urban Meyer. Now, some people don't quite, don't like that. I don't quite figure out why when you get a guy in the Hall of Fame. He must have done something pretty good. So it's a very good achievement for Urban. He happens to be in town this week. He'll be at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill with Steve. A special event on Friday. We'll tell you more about that. Freddie Weeby joins us a little after about quarter after, and we'll talk to him about that. Right now, it's time to go to the man himself, the guy that we rely upon for all our really good stuff. He's been doing it a long time, and that's because he's really good at it, and he gets his stuff right. In this day and age of clicks, it's nice to have some substance. That's what this guy brings. Good evening to you, Tony. How you doing?
Buddy, I'm doing okay. What you've got, I had for about 3 weeks earlier this year, brother. So I feel your pain. I know what you're going through.
Remember, how'd you get rid of it, by the way?
All you can do is take your vitamin C, drink plenty of water or anything else to keep you hydrated, and it has to run its course.
Get a lot of rest. That's exactly what I'm doing. So I'm on day one. So we're okay. I know you were suffering through it. I had you on a couple of times. You soldiered on, my friend, like you always do. So,
show must go on, buddy. You know that.
It has for a long time, Tony. Gosh, how many years do we have together experiencing this? Quite a few, I'd say.
A bunch.
We got to be like over 100 together.
We're part of the old newspaper guys club, newspapermen's club.
Yeah.
Saw where Larry Guest died.
Yes.
Saw that. That's he was one of those guys. He really was.
I saw the Bianchi column. In fact, I was talking to David Whitley, a friend of mine, about whether you might choose to write one because Larry Guest asked him to write his obituary last year, and I guess he did. For those who know what I'm talking about, Larry Guest was a long time college to Orlando Sentinel. Prior to that, he came from Mississippi. He got out and about, shall we say, ruffled a few feathers, including the head ball coaches, and he got so bad that the head ball coach wouldn't answer a question from him. He'd ask the questions in the press conference. He said, "Steven said, you don't need to be asking that question. You know how adamant. There's only been a couple of those guys for Steve. One was in South Carolina, and one was in Florida, and Larry was it. But at one point in time, I tried to help them make peace. They couldn't make it happen. Hold on. Oh, sorry. To get that out of there. Get this out. Now let's talk about quarterbacks.
Yeah.
DJ Lagway, freshman All-American again. I don't know what that says, but certainly we don't need that to tell us what kind of player he is. He's terrific. And Georgia, they got a new guy, and their old guy is getting $4 million to play in Miami. The story came out that Carson Beck is going to Miami. What are you hearing on that figure for Carson Beck?
I've been hearing it's about $4 million. He was making about $2 million at Georgia when he put everything together. And he made the decision, or his folks made the decision, that coming back to Athens was, first he decided not to turn pro, not to get into the NFL draft. Yeah. That's the first decision to make. And so once he had done that, he went back into the transfer portal and like a lot of the guys do, just to find out what the market is. You never know till you get in that portal and people start throwing numbers at you. And so it's probably the best thing that Carson Beck and Georgia have parted ways. They've got a couple of guys in their quarterback room they think can play, and we'll see. And it's keep this in mind, buddy, that you and I talked about this. Moving forward, until we get some guardrails on this whole system and some structure in this whole system, the most profitable guy in the country is going to be a quarterback headed into his last year of eligibility and out there in the free market where all these teams need a quarterback. How many teams have you seen that, man, they just don't have they're okay. They're a good team. They just don't have a great quarterback. And those guys have really a large amount of leverage in this process. So keep your eye on fifth-year quarterbacks. They're going to do that. Well, bottom line, buddy, when you think, you and I have talked about this before, is it's a situation where you will actually make more money staying in college than you would being a second-round draft choice in the NFL.
Yeah, as we saw with Carson Beck. I'm mixed on Carson Beck. I don't know. I know you liked him. Is there something missing? Maybe his receivers dropped too many passes. I don't know. You saw the games. He just didn't seem to click like we hoped he would, or you hoped he would. He's a talented arm, but he did something missing. I don't know what it is, but
what was missing, buddy? What was missing this year was Brock Bowers and
Lad
McConkey.
No
that's what was missing.
I'm the number one fan of Brock Bowers. You know that all these years.
Great player.
Great player. So
he's not just in the NFL, buddy. He is tearing up the NFL.
Yeah. Another vision that got me, Tony. I got all these visions I've seen. Brock Bauer. I loved him as a freshman. I love DJ Lagway before he hit the field and said so. People thought I was crazy. I love Jaden Ball. By the way, there's a guy to watch. He's going to be a heck of a running back. I mean, really going to be good. So we'll see. But if you can keep your quarterback, which as far as we're able to do, that's a big plus right now because the open market is a dangerous place. So anyhow, all right. So we got the championship game. Everybody said Notre Dame couldn't do it. They still might not, but they had a heck of a year. Looks like Ohio State's got its momentum back. They're a talented football team. How do you see Monday night?
I'm really, really torn about this game. If you were looking at it logically, buddy, just logically, who's got the better team? Who's got the better roster? Who's got more NFL draft choices on their roster? And that's Ohio State. Now, don't get me wrong. Notre Dame's got a lot of really good players and some guys who could really make plays, but I just think Ohio State's a much better team. Having said all of that, we learned something, buddy, after being in this business a long time, is that some things, it doesn't go by the playbook. There is, Notre Dame looks like it could be a team of destiny. The other night against Penn State, I mean, they're down 10-0. They pick up a field goal right before halftime, and it's 10-3. Using their backup quarterback, by the way, they get it's 10-3 at halftime, and there's some great footage on the Notre Dame website, NBC Sports website, at halftime where Marcus Freeman tells his team, he says, "Look, guys, we are down one score. We get the ball first. All this is a fight." He says, "Don't be nervous. We've been here before. Don't be nervous. We can do this, but it's a fight, and you got to fight if you want to win this game." And I was getting chills listening to it. I said, "Man, I want to play for this guy."
Yeah.
So Ohio State has the better team. They do. But sometimes in sports, I covered North Carolina State against Phi Slama Jama in 1983 Final Four. I was there.
I was there.
And that was not supposed to happen. That wasn't supposed to be close, but they found a way to do it. So I haven't made my pick yet. I'm going to do that later, but I'm leaning towards Notre Dame being a team of destiny. It would be an incredible story.
I share your enthusiasm because I really like Marcus a lot. Freeman, I think he's a special guy. He figured something out. Think about it. In this era where money buys everything, everything's about the money and the contracts, and yet he brought it back to the basic thing about team. His players, especially his quarterback, are all unselfish people. They've got, maybe Ohio State's got better talent, but they may have a better team, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see about
but
that.
Yeah, there's no question that Ohio State, in my mind, Ohio State is the more talented team when you look at their roster. But stuff happens in game. When it's one game, it's one game, and and if you played them 10 times, you probably lose 9, but there's always a chance. So I'm leaning towards Notre Dame giving us an incredible story of a team that lost their second game to Northern Illinois, and Marcus Freeman, this guy was in over his head. He didn't know what he was doing, even though he went 10-3 the year before. But they've now won 13 straight games, and they've beaten Georgia, and they've beaten Penn State, and it's an incredible thing to watch.
How do you think SEC fans are taking this? I mean, you know how they hate Notre Dame. It's like to them, they're going to end up seeing a champion from the Big Ten or from Notre Dame. And I said earlier, that's like the old joke about what is it? When you talk about conflicted emotions, when you see your mother-in-law going off the edge of the mountain with your brand new Mercedes.
Yeah. That's right. That's mixed emotions right there.
Mixed emotions.
I don't know who the Georgia people would be pulling for. It's I'll say it this way: the SEC fans I know don't like Ohio State. Period. They just don't.
Yeah,
that's a fact. And so I guess in that sense they could since Ohio State would be the team to lose, I think the SEC fans would take a Notre Dame win because at least the Big Ten didn't win. So,
well, Tony, you grew up like I did, knowing that that we didn't like, we just liked Notre Dame and around the SEC, and we just like more of the Big Ten, but there wasn't that many interactive games in the 2 weeks. Interesting. All right, can you hang on a second? I'm gonna go get Freddie Weeby. And he's going to tell us and tell me if you have to go, that's fine. We'll talk about the special event. Urban Meyer today announced as the Hall of Fame coach.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to Urban, chatted to him. There happened to be an event scheduled at Spurrier's Restaurant on Friday. Steve and Urban will be there on Friday. Well, that'd be a nice autograph to have. Something of those two guys did. So Freddie Weeby put it all together. I'm going to go get Freddie. We'll postpone our commercial just for a minute from Meldon Law. We'll bring on Freddie for a second. And Tony, tell me if you can stay or if you have to go. I understand.
I can stay.
All right. Good. Right. Here's a guy who gets it done. He makes it happen. That's what he calls his company. Making it happen. What's up, Freddie?
Hey, buddy. How are you? Tony, how are you, sir?
Doing well. Thank you.
Well, your timing was good. To have the Hall of Fame coach with the other Hall of Fame coach. The big event at your place on Friday. I can't wait for it. Tell everybody who doesn't know about it what it is. Couple of pretty good bartenders, celebrity bartenders too. So tell me about the big deal at Spurrier Gridiron Grill.
Well, thank you. If I knew Urban would be inducted in the Hall of Fame, we would have scheduled this event a few years ago.
Yeah.
But we got lucky again. Urban is promoting his new tequila, Los Landoros. We're going to have a celebrity bartender in Shelly Meyer and Jerry Spurrier serving it, and kind of to promote the tequila, which is great, by the way, from Mexico. They've done a good job, and we serve it here at the restaurant. We're the first restaurant to serve it in the Gainesville area. And then that turned into, let's do a fundraiser, guys. Let's raise some money for charity. Coach Spurrier is on board, and how blessed and lucky we are from a Gator perspective to have the two winningest coach. You know, these two people have won every SEC championship, all nine in between them two, and every national championship since 1932. We've won nine SEC championships and three national championships, and these two gentlemen will be in the house at the restaurant promoting money for charities. 100% of the proceeds from the autographs and the pictures between 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock will be divided into three separate charities. Danny Werfel's Desire Ministries, the Tim Tebow Foundation, and the HBC Foundation. Three Heisman's charities will benefit from this fundraiser. We're asking for a donation of $50 plus or minus, and you can take a picture with both coaches. You can have an autograph signed by each coach between 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock this Friday. And if you want to try Urban's new tequila, visit the bar. Shelly Meyer and Jerry Spurrier will serve you this amazing tequila straight from Mexico.
Star power right there. I tell you what, bunch of star power. It'd be worth the price just to go see Jerry Spurrier, but not alone all the rest of them. But that's great. And congratulations on that. And congratulations. Let's talk for a minute, Tony, about the good stories that come along. You love to see your friends get recognized for their work. And Urban, who for some reason is a very controversial figure with some Gator fans, is how can you not say, Tony, he belongs in the Hall of Fame with his record?
Three national championships. So those are that's the marker right there. And obviously what he did at Florida, what he did at Ohio State.
Yeah.
Coached undefeated season at Utah. I mean, he is absolutely Hall of Fame worthy.
As they call it, legit. He's starting legit there. So and Florida to have two coaches like that, Tony, that's exceptional to have guys of that quality. Like Freddie said, they won everything. Actually, Freddie, they won everything since 1990. Excuse me, because they didn't win any SECs back in the old days. So that SEC's 1991, they took it back from them. But everyone won since then has been by these guys right here. So tell me about these two coaches, Tony, about what you would think of their credentials and what you remember about each.
Well, let's start with Marcus Freeman. I mean, Marcus Freeman just celebrated his 39th birthday after reaching the championship game. Played at Ohio State. His father was a career military man in the Air Force. And so he played at Ohio State, had a little up and down pro career and got into coaching. When he got ready to go into coaching, nobody other than Jim Tressel, former Ohio State coach, who helped him get started, and he's coached a bunch of different places. And matter of fact, he was talking about going to LSU as when Ed Orgeron was there, but he had the opportunity to go to his alma mater, and then obviously Notre Dame, and he's been there ever since. Ryan Day is a fascinating story to me. And here's a guy, buddy, who was going. I mean, the Ohio State people, after they lost to Michigan again this year, Ohio State people wanted him out. But he made the playoffs. Now he's got a chance to play for the national championship. And they really had the Ohio State fans just have a blind spot when it comes to Ryan Day. But I understand that when you don't beat your rival, when your rival beats you 3 or 4 years in a row, that is a problem. and I understand that. But I told some people before the playoffs started that if Ohio State lost to Tennessee, Ohio State was the 8th seed, Tennessee was the 9th seed. If Ohio State lost to Tennessee, they were going to be people that wanted him out. And I talked to a coach about it. And he couldn't believe what I was saying. The coach said, "Coach, I'm telling you, it's true. That's how bad it is." So for him to be in this position to play for the national championship, and if they were to win, that it's going to be fascinating. Because here's the question I have: if you win the national championship and you're Ryan Day, what's next? Do you stay, or do you go, "Hey, I've done everything I can do here. It's time to move on"? That will be a fascinating decision to make.
Yeah. Now, taking what they've accomplished, let's talk about the two coaches in the Hall of Fame, Spurrier and Urban, and what they've done. And talk about other schools. I don't think that many have two Hall of Fame coaches. I'm sure some do. How are these guys ranked? Let Freddie speak after this. How do these guys rank in terms of other schools and great coaches and Hall of Famers, Spurrier and Meyer?
Yeah. I just think given where they did it, the fact that Urban Meyer won 2 national championships at Florida, 1 at Ohio State, consistently in the top 10. I just think he's done an incredible job. Coach Spurrier, we know his story incredibly well. Florida had not won an SEC championship. They'd come very close, but they'd not won an SEC championship when he got there in 1990. That he proceeds to win 6 that they counted and 1 that they didn't. And Coach Spurrier will always, every time I ever brought it up, he always reminded me about that 1990 team, that he loved them as much as any team he's ever had. And so you really put coaches on tiers, and tier 1, I think these 2 guys belong on tier 1. What they've done, I mean, think about this: Coach Spurrier, 6 SEC championships, really 7 SEC championships,
Yeah.
2 national championships, and more than that, buddy. There's a nuance here with Coach Spurrier, and to me, it's this: Coach Spurrier did a lot to change the mindset of a lot of games that Florida
Changed the whole SEC.
the Florida Georgia game. He completely flipped the psychological component of the Florida Georgia game on its ear. And now Coach Spurrier's attitude was, "Hey," and he's told me this story, and he's told it to you many times. He told all the big Gators, "We're not moving from Jacksonville. We're an hour from campus.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? We're playing in a building that is called the Gator Bowl. We're not going anywhere." And I thought he showed the right attitude toward that. And as far as Urban Meyer goes, Urban goes in the SEC in a difficult situation, and he grasped it right away. They recruited at a very high level, and they were involved, and so both of those coaches fit in very, very well, and both are well deserving to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. And I know that he also, as you said, very proud of the 1990 team. He also was told early on by a big booster, and Freddie, you heard him tell his story. It's okay if you don't win it first. It'll take you 2 or 3 years to get going. And we understand that. And he said, "What are you talking about? We want to win right away." Remember that, Freddie? He said that to whoever the booster was. Wasn't no waiting around. He was going to win right away, and he certainly did that. And I was talking to him about it today. He still is somewhat upset that they wouldn't let him have a bowl game that year. He thinks that the so-called smoking gun that the NCAA had on Florida was really mild and really basically the school didn't do it. A booster paid the guys child support, and that was what did him in. And so he feels like he missed a chance to have a play in the Sugar Bowl that year, and angry. But nonetheless, remember that quote, Freddie, when he told that guy, "We're going to win right away."
And Tony mentioned mindset earlier, and I want to bring that up and highlight it. It's the common thing between those 2 coaches is that winning mindset. They both hate to lose more than they like to win.
True.
And when you have that mentality, I don't care if it's a football team, a restaurant, a talk radio show, an article, a newspaper, if you think that way, you will win. And they're both winners. They proved it.
Yep.
I bring a stat that I see it every single day. Coach Spurrier lost 5 home games in the swamp in 12 years. He won 7 SEC championships. He lost less games than SEC championships won.
Yep.
And that comes back from the mindset of winning. And Coach Urban, same thing. He hates to lose and they like winning. And they do whatever it takes and they do it the right way. They each did it differently. But they both won and won championships.
And Tony, we've seen schools who just got stuck and couldn't win. You couldn't change the culture. Florida should thank their lucky stars for having these two guys. And Urban was an incredible coach. I happen to have known them both really well, proud to have known them. And I will say one thing, Tony. In our days of being serious journalists, we had to write things that were critical when they were bad, and we wrote it.
Yeah.
I never got criticized by either Urban or Steve about writing critical articles because they felt like they knew that was right. And
Right.
you could be a friends with someone as long as they understand the ground rules. And boy, they were special.
Is it true? Is it true? Is it accurate? If it's true and accurate,
Right.
you got no beef.
Exactly. So, yeah. So anyway, Freddie, I'm gonna go over the details one more time, and let's talk about the event, what's going on, what it costs, where you come, what you do, details to follow on where.
So Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point in Gainesville, right off the highway, 4 to 6 p.m. this Friday. There's no cost if you want to come enjoy some good food, some good grub, enjoy the bar. We're open. We open at 4, but there's no cost to do this event. We ask for a donation, which will go straight to the charity. There'll probably be a line of folks. We'll move the line as quickly as we can. Coach Urban and Coach Spurrier will stand there, take pictures. They'll sign autographs. And they both understand all the proceeds will be donated and split equally between the 3 Heisman charities. We're honored to do this. We're blessed. Part of this restaurant is taking care of Gator Nation. We become the flagship restaurants of Gator fans across the globe. We host them every day, and we're honored to add another event that's also a good cause for some good charities out there.
Good job, Freddie. Congratulations on doing a great job with the restaurant. And I don't know if you've been there yet or not, Tony, but
I have not. I talked to Coach Spurrier about it. I need to get down there and go. It'd be
Need to
sounding
make
a lot
that
of fun.
happen, Tony.
yeah, I got to tell you,
Appreciate
you
that.
have a friend in this restaurant, you want to say nice things about their food, but it is really good. I've eaten there a number of times. The food is exceptional and fairly priced. So, all right, Freddie, I'll let you go. Good luck on Friday. Have a big
Thank you.
one. Keep doing a good job at what you're doing, my man.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity. I also want to highlight real quick, we are at the last 2 weeks of the Spurrier Great Gator Greats, where fans can vote for their favorite Gator to be inducted into the Coaches Hall of Fame right outside the restaurant. We have 9 already inducted, and so far, Coach Urban Meyer is a finalist this year. He's number 4. Emmett Smith is in there, Carlos Alvarez is in there, Shane Matthews is in there, Tim Tebow's in there, Coach Spurrier obviously is in there. And other finalists for this year, Fred Taylor, Urban Meyer, Brandon Spikes, Abby Wambach, Al Harford, and Caleb Dresser. So go to spurriers.com, look for the Spurrier Gator Great. We have close to 250,000 votes. Voting ends in 2 weeks, and we'll pick the top 3, which will be inducted in the ceremony later this year.
Thank you, Freddie. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Tony.
All right. Good luck, Freddie.
All right. Thank you, Freddie. All right. So we'll take this opportunity to tell you about Tony. Hang for a minute if you can. If you can't, I understand it. Let me know. Allie's coming on. Tell you folks about our fine sponsor, also friends and sponsors of Shane Matthews Show, Meldon Law, group of people that really care about what they're doing and about the University of Florida. If you need any legal advice, let me just say to you, be sure and contact them if you're in North Central Florida, because they got some really terrific attorneys. They care. If they can't take your case, they'll send you to somebody that can. And I don't know anything about law after the Pendo people, and so I have a pending case right now thanks to them. And they take pride in what they do. They also love the Gators, spend lots of money sponsoring shows like this. So check out their Facebook page. They give away a lot of stuff. And if you want to do this. So Meldon Law, They won't back down, and neither will this person right here. She's back again, although I'm not really sure why, but she's back. We're so happy. What's up, Allie?
Hello, how are you?
You know this guy over here?
I do. Hi, Tony. How are you?
Allie, I'm great.
I'm
Hope
doing
you are too.
well.
Well,
we're still, buddy. We're still digging out of 2 inches of snow. You know, the entire city shuts down whenever we get an inch of snow.
I was in Duluth this weekend, and we left a day early to get up there, and we got a ton of snow. It was crazy.
Yeah.
What is it?
I was supposed to drive to Winston-Salem, North Carolina on Friday, and we told our relatives, said, hey, well, let's wake up Friday morning. It'll be a game time decision. Woke up Friday morning, threw open the window, 3 inches of snow on the ground. So the game time decision was made for us.
It was very cool, but it was crazy. It was way more snow than I kind of had anticipated.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody in their right mind would go to Duluth in January.
Well, listen, there was a gymnastics meet there. My daughter was competing in. I didn't pick it, but we did go up on Thursday, so we weren't driving in the weather Friday. So it's kind of neat because we woke up. I woke up at actually like 6 o'clock in the morning, Friday morning, and went to the window, and there was nothing. And so I was like, oh, maybe it's not going to snow. Went back to bed. My daughter woke me up at 7:30 and was like, Mom, it's snowing. And the amount of snow that had happened between 6 o'clock and 7:30 was like astounding. And it was just coming down. It was cool.
Well, anybody who schedules an event in winter, these people in Duluth has got to be out nuts. Anyway, that's just hockey or whatever, ice skating or something. So, Allie, I've been reading a lot of your stuff and listening to a lot of your stuff. Her podcast is really well received. She's one of the more popular podcasts, Peek Inside the Gators. She focuses on things that I don't know anything about sometimes, like recruiting. And Tony, I read a thing the other day that said they did a research and they found out over the past, I want to say last 40 years, that only 2 teams have won championships who did not finish in the top 10 or top 5 in recruiting.
Top 5, I think. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it's right there. We don't like to admit it, but it's right there, Allie.
Yeah, I mean, it is it's a statistical fact, right? You basically need to finish in the top 5, even better if you finish in the top 3 in recruiting on a consistent basis to regularly have a shot at the national title. Can miracles happen? Absolutely. Do they happen often in college football? No, they don't. Recruiting matters. And that's why, we have these conversations. I feel like generally it happens in July, right? When we're talking about, does stars really matter, or can you just develop? And honestly, the facts tell us stars do matter. And obviously development matters, and you want coaches that can develop players, but you are far more likely to win a national championship with 5-star guys than you are with 2- and 3-star guys that you plucked and developed.
Right. That's exactly. You got to have, if you're going to play at the highest level, you've got to have the players. It's not real complicated.
How many 5-stars are there? 40?
I believe is it 40 or 38? Yeah. I mean, not a ton.
It's not many.
Not a lot.
Yeah. You hear a lot about these 3-stars getting developed.
Yeah.
Really good players, which you can do, but someone's got to be able to, you got to have the right quarterback, etc. What about Notre Dame? Do they have a lot of 5-stars? Anybody know?
They have done decently with recruiting. They are more of an outlier than like Ohio State, who has currently the most expensive roster, or so we are speculating, in college football. Ohio State has done an incredibly good job over many years, not just Ryan Day, going back to Urban Meyer, of being at the upper echelon of college football recruiting.
Well, there are those cases.
It's 32 5-stars, by the way. I just Googled it.
Well, they're 32. They're pretty hard to get those dudes.
It is.
Which makes you respect what Nick Saban was able to do even more.
But you can get 1 5-star, 2 5-stars, and a whole bunch of really highly rated 4-stars and finish in the top 5. So you don't just have to have 5 stars. You got to be strategic though.
Yeah. And we'd like to think it's, we old fashioned folks like Tony and I would like to think it's more about values, tradition, etc. But the fact is, it doesn't matter as much, those kind of things, Tony, as they used to with players. You can talk about a good old University of Georgia or Florida, whatever. It's like, what's in the envelope? It's really not that much of a big deal about tradition, or is it? Am I wrong?
No, I don't think you're wrong. I just think those things to this generation of players, it's more of a transactional view
They're
of what's
mercenaries.
going on. Yeah, well, they what they've seen. Listen, they've grown up in a system where coaches were making 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 million a year. Athletic directors were making 2, 3 million a year. Assistant coaches were making 2, 3 million a year, and they're going, "What's missing
Our
from this
piece of the
picture?"
pie.
And their time has come, boys and girls, and
Yeah.
they're going to cash in. So,
Alan, you would know this, not to get in too over our skis. Florida's recruiting a offensive lineman they really like a lot. I think he's a senior right now. I think the kid's from Tampa. Do you know who I'm talking about?
no, because
What were you going to
go
say,
ahead.
Tony?
I'm sorry, no. No, I was just going to say no, because I
Yeah,
don't follow
I know, that's what I was
recruiting, so I
asking
don't.
Alan,
I don't know.
No, who is it? What's his
You
name?
got it.
I got to look it up while you guys talk. Talk amongst yourself for a second.
Okay, we'll talk amongst ourselves.
Talk amongst
I Florida is doing well recruiting wise. They've closed really strong for the 2025 class or 2024 class. I guess it's the 2025 class because they can technically still sign in February, even though so few people really do that these days. I am concerned about their portal movements or lack thereof at this point. We've lost 2 guys that committed to us and aren't actually going to stick. And we've had multiple players in the last couple of days who were committed to taking a visit to us from the transfer portal who ended up committing elsewhere. And it feels very much like we maybe haven't learned our lesson the last couple of transfer portal recruiting seasons, which is, with the transfer portal, you want to be the first visit that somebody comes on. You have to move quickly. Your number has to be right. And you have to jump strike while the iron's hot, so to speak. And in high school recruiting, it's exactly the opposite. You want to be the last recruiting trip they take before they commit.
Right.
And they're 2 completely different strategies. And I think that, the knock the last couple of years is that the players that Napier have gotten has been great. And he evaluates very well and they contribute, but they're not moving fast enough to get enough guys from the portal to really kind of, get them over the hump. And I think we were all kind of hoping, okay, they probably learned their lesson the last couple of times. We need very few pieces too. And there's very few scholarships available. So they do have to be selective, but it just feels like we're just very slowly trugging along while everybody else is moving at a breakneck speed. And, we get so excited about last year's transfer portal class, which had Badger and DK in it. But when you think about the fact that one of them was Graham Mertz's teammate from Wisconsin, one of them was Ricky Pearsaw's teammate from Arizona State, it's almost like we got in a good situation because we knew somebody who knew somebody. And that's how we ended up with a good transfer portal class as opposed to finding these guys and acting quickly.
Right. Right. The thing that fascinates me about the transfer portal is the different philosophies that different schools have. Kirby Smart does not want to sign 15 portal guys. He doesn't. He wants to sign 5 or 6 and plug them in. Wide receiver, for example, they need help at wide receiver. They need help now. They don't need to recruit. They don't need to recruit 3 high school kids and bring them in. They need to go to the portal and solve their need at wide receiver, which is substantial. And I think that's the way Kirby goes about it. But some, like Lane Kiffin, are going to sign 18, 20 guys every year and then rebuild the team. I think I could be proven wrong. I think that is not a good way.
I agree. I think that Kirby's strategy, which by the way, I also think is Billy Napier's strategy, is the correct one, that you build the core of your team from high school recruiting. I think high school recruiting is still king, and you can just kind of plug and play in these key areas with transfer guys. I think Florida State is a great cautionary tale of what happens when you rely too heavily on the transfer portal. Norvell is not a great high school recruiter. He has, at least once with Jordan Travis, been a good transfer portal guy. He had a lot of pieces on that undefeated team, or actually it's a 13-1 team, but he had a lot of transfer portal guys hit with that season, with that year. And we saw what happened. They almost made the playoffs. You could argue that maybe they should have made the playoffs, but you then see exactly what happens the following year when you don't hit in the transfer portal. It feels very feast or famine when, if you build the base from high school recruiting, it's okay if you're wrong on that plug and play transfer guy because the core of your team already exists. And
Right.
I do think high school recruiting is king. I do think the way that Kirby does it, the way that Napier does it, is the correct and going to prove to be the more successful path. But, Lane and Norvell, and there's some others that view it differently.
The guy's name is Kennon Pickett, offensive tackle, 6'6", 290,
Okay.
class of 2026, Wharton, Tampa.
You know what's so funny? Wharton is a mile and a half down the road from me. That is the high school my kids are zoned for. The interesting thing is that their entire football program fell apart a year and a half ago. So honestly, that's probably why I don't know the name, because they probably don't get as much pub as some of the bigger high schools who have been consistently good in Tampa. But I'm kind of surprised that a guy that big that is being recruited by Florida is sticking around Wharton. I applaud that. That's just probably his zone school, and that's why he goes there. You don't see that a lot in Tampa, though. I'm kind of shocked to hear. I think Wharton won 2 or 3 games this year.
It's what he said. I'm trying to figure out what really matters to me. The Gators program is definitely on an upward trend with a bright future, especially with Coach Rob Sale, who has developed multiple draft picks from whichever school he was at. DJ Langway is definitely the future and will be a huge piece. I want to improve base blocking and technique while climbing to backers. He does what he wants.
Yeah. Interesting. I'm going to have to do some research on that because he's got to live in a 3-mile radius from my house, basically.
Wow.
Well, go out and recruit him. Speaking of which, and quarterbacks and what have you, the whole Deshaun Purdy thing is kind of screwed up. Florida got this guy and thought they had their backup quarterback. He decommits and decides to go back to the portal. Then he decides to go to Georgia. And Georgia says they want him. But originally they lost to Florida. But now apparently some kind of rule or something where he can't go there now until after a certain date. Is that right, Allie?
So I haven't looked at what the latest on this is today, but I believe the portal was closed, right? So like he signed with Florida, he reported it was closed, so I don't think he can transfer until the spring season or the spring opening. I don't think. The interesting thing about this is first of all, he told us it's because he thought he was going to start over DJ Lagway originally, which there's 0% chance anybody on Florida's coaching staff gave him any kind of idea that was going to happen. And even if they did, which they didn't, but even if they did, you've got to have some adult advising you going, yeah, he's got top 5 Heisman odds, probably not going to start over him, or at least they're not going to promise you the job, right? That doesn't, everything should always be an open competition, but your odds are not good that you're going to beat him out. But I think this does have kind of tampering written all over it. You commit to a school, you talk all about how great it is and the development that's going on there and the camaraderie between the team and all of these things. And then suddenly on a dime, you flip 3 weeks later, and then you now want to go to Georgia. I think Carson Beck declaring and then obviously getting in the transfer portal and going to Miami is probably why he suddenly says that he thought he was going to start over DJ Lagway.
For sure. And you got to question his judgment if he thought he was going to start over DJ Lagway based on what I've seen and what I've heard and what I know about DJ Lagway. By the way, today is the birthday of Jacquez Green. How good was Jack West Green? Can you believe Florida had 3 All-American wide receivers? Jack West was younger than the other two. But Danny Werfel had some targets, didn't he?
Rito and Ike. Yeah, I mean that was um probably. I mean, can we name 3 wide receivers at the same time for Florida? That's a more prolific group of guys. Probably not, right?
No.
Well, how about this? Those 3 guys were not known by their book. It was
And
Ike,
Quezzy.
Riedel, and Quezzy.
That's right.
I have a
No, they
hat
didn't have
that
last.
says
They didn't
that.
have last. They didn't have last
Yep.
names. They didn't need last names.
Yep. I'll have to look for it, but I have a hat that says that actually.
I guess he's still coaching high school ball, last I heard.
Yeah, I believe that's correct.
Oh. So let me just take a second to thank our sponsors. Titan MRI and Imaging is our sponsor. They're now called something different. They were Titan MRI. Now they're Titan MRI and Imaging. They're opening another place for you. People in Marion County, pay attention. They'll soon be coming your way. They already are in North Central Florida. With their new program, they'll be able to take your insurance, be able to serve you better. That's what they're all about. Titan MRI wants to make sure that you have a good customer experience. No one really likes to have a Titan imaging or MRI or whatever, but you got to go and do the best you can. Titan MRI and Imaging acquired Highfield MRI. Joe Colorillo started Highfield MRI in 1997. Now he's back. And they have 3 locations, serving 2 in Gainesville, also 1 in Lake City, and now coming soon to Florida. Titan MRI and Imaging. Check them out. They'll do you right. All right, guys, in a couple of minutes, we got to go here. We know that we kind of like some of the things that we've seen in the new way of playing college football. We don't like some. We know Tony's mentioned guardrails a couple of times. What are the biggest pluses that we've had with this new playoff system, and can it be sustained? Tony?
I absolutely love the 12-team playoff. Think about this. The other night, they're presenting the Orange Bowl trophy, and they have a bowl full of oranges, and you're getting this, and you're getting this, all that, and you interview with the TV people, and they congratulations on winning the Orange Bowl. But here's the neat thing about this: not only do you get all these neat gifts and all that kind of stuff, you get to keep playing. You get to play another game, and the fact that it adds a lot to the whole thing. So I think it's we're not going to make any major changes for next year because you can't. But in 2026, everything is on the table, and I think there's going to be a lot of pressure to expand it to 14 or 16. There's going to be even more pressure to play not the first round on campus, but the first 2 rounds on campus. There was such a success. There'll be a lot of pressure to do that.
So I have very mixed feelings on the playoffs. On the one hand, more football is more football, and I am here for that. And it's more good football, right? Like we are seeing the first round, there were some blowouts, but we've always had blowouts in bowl games, happen. So I don't think that that's unique to the playoff system. But since then, we've seen a lot of incredible football games, and I think that that's great. The other thing that it's done is we're seeing way less opt-outs this bowl season, and it's because of the playoffs. First of all, you've got the top 12 teams playing for something meaningful. So none of those guys are going to opt out. And more than likely, your top players going to the draft that are trying to protect themselves play for one of those top 12 teams, right? Like that makes the most sense. So those guys play. But then the guys that didn't make the playoffs, we saw Milrow play for Alabama. We saw obviously Cam Ward only played for 1/2, but we saw Cam Ward play in the Pop-Tart Bowl. Like it felt very much like we saw less opt-outs this year. And I think it's a result of the playoffs. And I like that because I hate all of the opt-outs. I don't love that. I feel like the 2 biggest upsets we had this regular season feel like they don't matter. We watched Notre Dame get upset by Northern Illinois, and then we watched Michigan just pound Ohio State. And now it feels like neither one of those regular season games matter at all. And that does bother me. I do think that we have to make sure we preserve the regular season. And I hear the argument that the second half of the season mattered more and there were more teams in it till the end. And I can see that as a legitimate argument as well. I do hope we tweak going forward the seeding. I would love to see it just be 1 through 12. I'm okay with the top 4 getting buys. I just don't think it should be the top 4 conference champions that get them. I think it made the rest of the seeding wonky. I think some people have a much harder road than others. I love the games on campus. I do think it should be the first 2 rounds because honestly, the teams that got the bye kind of got screwed because they didn't get to get a game at their college city. And a college football game is always better on a college campus than it is, in a venue that is in some major city somewhere. College football is about those small towns and getting to celebrate with their students on their campus to benefit financially is all huge positives for me.
Right. Well, the bottom line on the seeding thing, Allie, is that when all was said and done, Ohio State was the number 8 seed in a 12-team tournament. And that just absolutely, as you said, messed up the rest of the bracket. So, yeah, you're going to the committee had its hands tied. That's where people don't understand. People said, did the committee get it right? I said, for the parameters they were given, because they said, why didn't they rank them 1 through 12? They couldn't rank them. They did rank them
1 through 12. They just can't seed them 1 through 12. Their rankings were correct. They just their hands exactly what you're saying. The rules are the rules. They didn't get a choice on how they seat them.
All right. And so everything's going to change in 2026. There's going to be a lot of pressure. And if I'm a member of the group of 5, I'm really nervous. They probably will preserve that one spot for the group of 5, but everybody else is going to be seated in their right place. So the brackets don't make a whole lot of sense.
Everybody's in favor of change until it affects what they like. Let me put this right out here right now and say,
I liked the BCS. I was a fan.
I know you were. Here's the key. We're sitting here talking to 3 people who absolutely love conference championships, especially SEC. The fact remains those conference championships are being devalued by everybody. Now, I know the SEC think it's got its own little world, but they are not going to be as important now as they were 10 years.
Yeah, you can make an argument that teams that didn't play in it were potentially better off, right? I mean, I know for the SEC, we got our winner, our runner-up, and a 3rd team in, but that won't always be the case for each conference. And I do think sometimes you can play your way out of it. But I wish we looked at conference championships as a way to play your way in instead of a way to play your way out, if that makes sense. And I mean, I don't know. I think maybe we approach it a little bit wrong.
Well, under the Buddy Martin plan, written on papyrus, back in the day when I formulated this, the conference championships were part of the structure, part of the deal. And one of the things that they've not learned to deal with, and they didn't do it in basketball, use that to help value their position, give them points, make it worth playing. Right now, they don't have to play. And they say, we don't care. We just don't let them opt out. I think the conference championships, look.
If only we had a system that used to calculate these things and put weight to them.
Yes, really.
Yeah. What if we had that? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the one thing I know the line on. Don't take my conference championship away.
Yeah.
And originally in the theory that we started back in 1980, the conferences really were melded into alliances where they were together, and you played each part of the country in your alliance, and you, like you did in the regionals tournaments in basketball, and you achieved, your best teams out of the Southeast and your best teams out of the North, and so on, till you get and you put them in a tournament. That's how they were the original thing. The problem is we're so screwed up now in our geography.
Well, the Big Ten and the ACC skipped geography class is what
they did. Yeah.
Happened.
I still have a hard time with that, Tony.
We in the South know our geography. We're pretty fine when you look at the bubble that we've drawn. Some others need some help.
Well, when I was doing my little talks this summer, I would tell everybody, I said, here's my favorite when it comes to conference realignment. Here is my favorite of all, Stanford, Cal, and SMU in the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Stupid.
That just doesn't sound right. Feel right.
No.
All right. Anybody that you got your eye on right now in terms of you think is in for a big year next year? A lot of the quarterbacks are gone. What team, what player, what coach are you looking forward to next year? Who is going to be successful in your eyes right now when you get ready to evaluate them? Is there one team, one player, one coach, Tony, that comes to your mind?
I'm anxious to see what Georgia ultimately does at the quarterback position. They've got a couple of other guys in that quarterback room other than Stockton that they like. See who they bring in. I think Tennessee's going to take another step forward. Don't be surprised if LSU under Brian Kelly takes another step forward. And I am fascinated by what's going to happen at the University of Alabama.
Allie?
I know it's probably a very easy answer to say that I'm interested to see what happens at Ohio State and Notre Dame, but I am interested. There's been rumors this entire playoff that Ohio State is having to pay a somewhat large number of players to keep them from entering the portal while the playoffs are going on. Now, maybe that was the case as the playoffs started, and now that they've had this success, maybe maybe they're not thinking of hopping in the portal, but I'm interested to see, does the tide change on that? I think it's so interesting to watch the fans' reaction to Ryan Day. On the one hand, it's wild to think about a coach being put on hot boards the year that he's also playing in a national championship, but we watched that happen. But on the other hand, I can also see Ohio State's fans' point when you look at some of their earlier season games and then you look at how they're playing now. And I can get the concept of being frustrated because you knew what your team was capable of and they weren't achieving it. I do think Ryan Kelly hiring Chip Kelly should be a giant lesson to any head coach who calls his own plays. I think having the ability to look inward and see that you would be a better CEO if you didn't also have the responsibilities of play calling, and you see what a difference it has made for Ryan Day, who is an incredible play caller, was an offensive coordinator in a national title prior to this. I think that's pretty interesting. And then I just love what Marcus Freeman is doing at Notre Dame. I think that he is so fun to watch. I think that he has taken what, for a long time was America's team. And then I think really was kind of just overall disliked by the country. We felt like they easily got put into games. They constantly got blown out. They played on reputation. Nobody feels like that about this Notre Dame team at all. They think they're gritty and creative and fun to watch and just like, bring your lunch pail and go to work. They're not elite at anything. They're just good at everything.
I talked to a friend of mine the other day, Allie. He said, you know what Notre Dame has done in this football season? They've made Notre Dame likable
100%.
again.
Yeah.
He is he's so likable. Every soundbite is just dead on, and he's somebody you want to have a beer with. He's somebody you can have a real conversation and he doesn't speak in cliches. He's humble. He gives the credit to his players to the point where his players have to say he's got to take some of the credit for himself because he did, XYZ or whatever. Riley Leonard is really good about, throwing some credit back Freeman's way, but he's young. He's fiery and he plays so loose. I almost feel like he's played this playoffs kind of like we're playing with house money. So we can be fun, we can be creative, we can be loose. And that makes you a dangerous team.
If you haven't seen it, there's a video on the NBC Sports website, and it was halftime of the game against Penn State. Remember now, it was 10-0. They picked up a field goal right before half, and it's 10-3. Get a little momentum. In the locker room, they're getting ready to come out, and Marcus Freeman goes, "Hey guys, we're only 7 points down. We get the ball first. If you want to win this game, it's a fight. Don't worry. Don't be nervous. There's no reason to be nervous. We're with 7 points behind. We're gonna get the ball
and
first."
Then they scored 24 points.
They did. That's right. And so that's that guy there. What he's selling, those players.
He is a player's coach through and through. He comes across so genuine in honestly a sport that is filled with a lot of not so genuine people these days. He's fun to root for. And I think his recruiting is about to explode. It's been pretty damn good already, but it's going to explode. And I do find it funny that maybe it wasn't that Brian Kelly needed a new school to win a national title. Maybe it's that Notre Dame needed a new coach to
There
play
you
for a
go.
national title.
Well, he's taking heat on that. He's taking
There you
heat on
go.
that, and Landy should. So, hey guys, you were wonderful tonight. Thank you so much for getting me through this hour with my throat and nose and the Tony Barnhart disease, and I made it through tonight. Maybe I'll make it through tomorrow. You guys are great. Love your stuff, Tony. Keep writing good. Tell people where they can read you.
All right. We are on TG, the media guides, TMG College Sports under the Athlon umbrella. Just do a Google on TMG College Sports. Me and three of my newspaper buddies started this website several years ago, and among us, we have 130 years of experience, something like that. So we've been doing it.
Tell me how to do this. How to convince a bright young woman who has done a podcast that she should be writing? How do I do that, Tony?
It's a set of muscles. You either want to use them or you don't. And if you don't enjoy the writing part of it, then I understand. But I can't imagine after 30. I'm gonna quit counting numbers. I don't care. I've been doing it a long time. Still enjoy.
Well, I do enjoy writing, buddy. I just need some free time in my life. These 5 children
you
make
have
it.
2 sets of twins. Don't cop out because of that.
I mean, the children do make time scarce, but I do enjoy writing.
One day. And Tony, give me
Yes.
this. I might not have been any good about writing, but I knew how to pick good writers. Did I not, Tony?
Okay. You did.
Got it on my list. Did. Hey, you guys were great. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Allie. Great to be with you both. Thank you so much.
All right. Take your vitamin C,
take
buddy.
Some more right now. I've taken 2. I'm going to get my Tony Barnhart recipe for it right now. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good night, guys.
Take care.
Good night, guys. Thank you. All right, folks. All right, we're going to wrap it up with Renstar Medical Research. Our good friends over there at in Ocala, downtown Ocala, who do such a terrific job in the community and also in medicine and what they do. And if you don't know what it's about, these you see here, the medical research facility seeking tomorrow's answers to the health questions today. What they do is they do these clinical trials, and this is where they get their really latest data on how we're doing, and basically check the status of our health. Also, or they got one on for this. No, but seriously, all these things that we have, you have these clinical trials, and you go in and you take these medications, and they log the information, and they'll send it off to companies to get the data so they can do a better job of filling prescriptions for us. I highly recommend that if you go to renstar.net and see that there's a clinical trial of something you'd be interested in, click on it, go see what they got, see if you can qualify. Because if you do, you can get your compensation for the time and travel both. And also no charge to you. They've been doing this a long time. They've done over 800 of these things. Check them out, Renstar Medical Research. Seeking tomorrow's answers for the health questions of today. Well, I'm speaking of Joe Sorrentino's business. He and Mary Brownlee. We just mentioned that Joey, her son, who played at Florida, is a dentist in Ocala, has a couple of really nice practices. One of them, Maricamp, which is Marion Dental. I'll be there next week, having some things work done. And then now Lady League, a bigger one, you want to check with them. So Joey Sorrentino, former walk-on with Urban Meyer, Hall of Famer, is there. Dr. Joey Sorrentino does a great job. Thanks to our guests tonight, folks. Thanks to Tony, and thanks for Freddie Weeby. Don't forget, check out that deal with on Friday. I wish I was going to be there. Can you imagine what those things are worth? I mean, the autographed football with Urban and Steve's name on it. Not only that, how nice would it be to have one? It'd be really nice for sure. So check that out. They're having this event on. Let me see if I can get a hold of this stuff. Find this thing. They have this event coming up on Friday. Then, of course, you can check out Spurrier's Ground Grill anytime and see what's going on there. So, anyway, thank my guests tonight, Tony and Allie, and also Freddie Weeby and the team. Appreciate that very much. So, we will come back at you again tomorrow night. We'll have Coach Spurrier and Coach Meyer on tomorrow night. So you should come and join us, listen to the show. It's going to be fun, and you'll be glad you did, because I'm sure they'll have some things to say, more than just about the Spurrier beer and the Urban tequila. It's more than that. It's good comments. 2 Hall of Fame coaches. So anyway, that's how it is. Thank you, and good night, folks.